There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. Well, it's probably not that clear cut, but if you look at a set of choices on how to achieve a goal, there are probably a great many ways to achieve that goal that are better than some suboptimal ways to achieve that goal. And I think I've been kind of screwing the pooch when it comes to choosing which method I've been using to make these videos. My initial goal was to make videos from a foreigner's point of view about Korean culture and people that most Korean people have never heard before. And my idea was that I wasn't going to chase views and money because that would dilute my actual aim. If I'm just trying to get views, I should be showing people what they want to see, or better yet, what YouTube wants people to see. And these things are often unthought-provoking, lame, and things that have been seen and done many times before. And this drive for views and money in our new world of not just movies and television, but of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all social media websites pushes us to do less original ideas in favor of things that have been done before and guarantee us people will like the content. And there really is no better example than what has happened to movies in the last 2 or 3 decades. Think about the most popular movies. Many of them these days are just remakes of old movies. There are upcoming movies like the remake of Aladdin and the live-action version of The Lion King, and big movies like A Star is Born, which is actually a remake of a 1976 movie, which itself was a remake of a 1937 movie by the same title. I feel like I've stepped into the inception of movie remaking here, but anyway, this idea doesn't just apply to remakes, it also applies to franchises. Try to name all the Star Wars movies. Try to name all the Marvel Universe movies. Think about all the Harry Potter movies, all the Toy Story movies, all the Batman movies, and not just the ones going back to Dark Knight. Think about the ones that came out in the 90s, if you can remember them. Think about James Bond, Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, Transformers, The Fast and the Furious. There is a huge percentage of movies that are essentially unoriginal ideas being repackaged either as a sequel or a remake. It's quite clear that movie studios go for safe, tried and true concepts, and this really makes sense. Going through with a new idea is quite risky when it comes to a movie's bottom line. When a movie studio releases a movie based off of a truly original idea, it might do really well because it's a very novel and interesting idea, but it may also do very poorly because that movie's storyline has never been tested before. So if you want to do something that has never been done before, if you want to do something that is great, if you want to do something that maybe not everyone will see, but that the few people who do see it will really like, you have to take that risk. You have to do something that will probably not be popular. And when I initially made my videos, I thought this was the path I'd be following. The problem was, and I don't want to sound like an arrogant asshole when I say this, but my problem was that my third video got very popular. It's something like, 300,000 views. And right when that happened, I slowly transitioned into what I didn't want to be. The foreigner YouTuber heavily concerned with getting views. Now in my defense, I never quite became the super lame foreigner YouTuber. I never decided to start making the, oh my god, check out my American friend trying tteokbokki for the first time videos. And I think in most of my videos I do dish out some criticism of Korean culture, but I was still letting the idea of I need views seep into my thoughts on making videos. And it's hard for me to really put my finger on how that affected the videos I was making, but I'm sure it was. Now luckily, thank God, my videos have become very much less popular, and I'm kind of joking about the thank God part. But seriously, to some extent, it really is a blessing in disguise because it's made me realize I need to do videos that are just the best videos I can make and not just the videos that will get me the most views. And this has led me to realize I need to make a whole new breed of videos. Talking about Korean culture is interesting. It seems like such a hidden gem to me because although Asian culture in general is quite different from Western culture, and that can lead to a lot of interesting ideas, there hasn't been that much emphasis on Korea specifically. Now, I know K-pop has gained a foothold in America and Europe to some extent, and J-bars like Samsung and LG have given some notoriety to Korea. But I think if you played a quick word association game with any American, you could still see that we associate Asia with China and Japan. I'm pretty sure if you played the word association game of, I'm going to say a word and you tell me the first word that pops in your head, and I went through and I said something like bread, butter, credit card, Asian country, China. And not only because it's still the case that Korea is not the most well-known country in Asia, and so Korea has carved out a nice little niche of interesting subject matter, but also because when people judge or criticize a culture, they're very careful, and this carefulness has left a space for someone who will be honest about it. If you watch most foreigners on TV or even on YouTube, they don't want to be overly critical of a culture because it can sound racist or just plain mean, and because people have this aversion, it means truly critical points of view on Korea from a foreigner's point of view is in little supply. And when something is in little supply, its value goes up. And for these reasons, I've been almost exclusively focused on talking about Korea and Korean culture. And while I still want to make these kinds of videos about Korean culture, I don't think these are the only videos I could be making. There are so many more interesting things to talk about. Philosophy, economics, politics, humor, psychology, all of the arts, whether it be television or movies or music, all of these things have many interesting facets to them. And I believe I have some insights and points of views on all of these subjects that would be worth making videos about, especially because of the worldview that Koreans are forced to be a part of. There are many things that are translated into Korean, but there are also many things that are not. I would say almost all best-selling books get translated into Korean, but I'm sure there are many very interesting, though maybe not super popular books that are not. I, being an English speaker, have the opportunity to read Self-Insight, which is a collection of essays by David Dunning, which explains the Dunning-Kruger effect, which, plainly speaking, shows that all of us think we are much smarter than we actually are. It's a very good and interesting read that, unless you're in the top 5 or 10% of English-speaking Korean people, can't really be read by a Korean person because it's in English. Almost all popular TV shows and movies get translated into Korean, but what about interesting but unpopular documentaries, like one of my favorite documentaries, Born Rich? Because I'm blessed with the ability to speak English natively, I get to see this really interesting documentary that catches a glimpse of the life of a few children of the extremely rich. But Korean people who aren't extremely proficient in English will never get to see it. What about podcasts? While many books, TV shows, and movies are translated into Korean, I think almost no podcasts are translated into Korean, and quite honestly, podcasts are one of my favorite forms of entertainment, news, and knowledge. It hurts me deeply that I cannot recommend my favorite podcast to my Korean friends and YouTube viewers. And I think this is where my work comes in. It's my job to open my Korean viewers' minds to these angles of the world only English native speakers have access to. It's my job to show Korean people what the world has to offer that's not translated into Korean. It's my job to show Korean people things that are very often not popular and not money-making, but are nevertheless things that Korean people should have access to, even if they're explained poorly and haphazardly through myself. And I'm really not trying to limit myself to just things Korean people can't get access to because of a lack of a Korean translation. I want to just concentrate on interesting things. Thoughts and ideas that are not popular in media and in culture because they require more than a moment's thought to understand. Things like politics and philosophy that don't have a definite answer, and that, while I will give my opinion on them, you could think about and formulate your own opinions about. Things that are interesting will make you a more interesting person who will go on to talk about these things, and in turn make your friends more interesting, who will then go on to their friends and make them more interesting until finally, hopefully, we can together make a more interesting world for all of us to live in. Let's make the world a more interesting place. And even if these goals are lofty and I can never really accomplish them, and even if it's not popular, I must make these my goals going forward, making videos. And to be absolutely honest, of course I want views. I'd love to make money off my videos someday. But if that's my main goal, if I let that be the driving force behind how I make these videos, I'm gonna be losing something. There will be something not genuine and not real about my videos. So fuck popularity. Fuck trying to be the biggest Weigukin YouTuber in Korea. Fuck trying to get the most views ever. From now on, I need to do the best I can do to help make interesting content that people can talk and think about and pass on to their friends so that we can all together make the world a more interesting place.